What's up, guys? I'm your host, Sean Gramer, and this is the Vikings. Wait, that sounded really weird. What's up, guys? Let's go! You can't do that on Tyreek Hill. And we decided to do the exact thing that we know we can't do against the Bears, which is run the ball. Let's go! What? No! For the win! No! The Vikings finally beat Russell Wilson. So in this episode, gosh, this is the third time I've tried recording this, because the first time I accidentally deleted the video, my first video. The second time I realized I wasn't even recording in the first place. Finally, I'm able to do it now. So I have three different news pieces from the Vikings I want to go over. The first one is Kevin O'Connell on his path to becoming a head coach, what makes a successful leader, current Vikings roster, and more. Then I'll get into the other two in just a bit. But first, let's get into this video.
Well, it is an exciting day here in Minnesota as we welcome the newest head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Mr. Kevin O'Connell. Kevin,
Gabe Henderson, that's what his name is.
Head coach, and congrats on the Super Bowl victory this past weekend.
I really appreciate it, man. It's been an unbelievable week, but no more exciting day than today to step foot in this building for the first time. It's been a great day so far.
So you got the tour and everything out the way.
I have. I will say this much. Quasey's been here 2 weeks longer than me, and we got lost coming back from lunch, so I definitely blame him for that. But unbelievable place. The commitment to building a building like this to be functional for the players, but also to help the collaboration and everything we want to get accomplished in this organization. It's all here for us. It's just about going to work now.
Can you walk me through the mindset of preparing for the biggest game in the NFL, preparing for a Super Bowl, but still knowing a few days after the Super Bowl, you got a new exciting journey ahead of you?
It was much easier to take on the challenge knowing the commitment from the Wolf family, from obviously Rob and Quasey and Andrew, to know that they wanted me to be all in on that game.
By the way, did you know SoFi Stadium costs $5 billion? It's crazy, but it's not surprising. Have you seen the place? Looks like some, I don't know, some futuristic crap. Even the Jumbotron especially. 360 Halo type thing. Okay, notice. Okay, watch this. Look how Hilton was so close. The ball passed right by his elbow.
Slightly on the future, knowing this opportunity out in front, and the amazing opportunity that it's going to be.
Yeah, you've been a part of championship caliber teams as a player and now as a coach. Now you're head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, hoping to bring us to the promised land. But I want to rewind back to 2008 when you were with the Patriots. Yeah. You were playing behind Tom Brady. Flipped the light switch in your head that you said, hey, I want to start coaching now. What was that light switch that gave you that realization that coaching was going to be after your playing career?
Well, first things first, watching somebody, maybe the greatest to ever live, actually physically perform the job of playing quarterback and saying, wow, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do that. So you see that and you go, hey, maybe I see this coach thing, he gets to wear a hat and a whistle. Maybe that's a little bit more my style. But in all reality, it was the mental understanding of what he was capable of doing, what he was able to, even at that point, it was a long time ago, even by his career standards, but even seeing where he was at that point and his understanding of not only all 11 on offense, but all 11 on defense, the situations in games, being completely in control from a master class standpoint. It was enough for me, at least from a mental standpoint, to want to be all in on kind of chasing that. Physically, I knew I would never be able to chase it from the standpoint being, as elite as he is throwing the football and playing the position, but mentally, it would just be work and dedication and being able to be a sponge around him and many of the other great coaches and players I've been around to kind of help form my football philosophy. And there's no question that I'm here, sitting here today because of all those guys.
You talk about some of those previous stops, even for coaching. How has that helped you get to this point?
I think it's, you take something from everyone you're ever around. Could be as simple as, hearing, Rex Ryan speak to the team the night before a big game, or could go back to even Coach Belichick and how he, introduced us as rookies to the team. Chip Kelly and his dynamic ways of teaching and keeping a team fresh in the sports science approach, and really just learning from a standpoint of truly how I want to build a team culture, collaboration, and communication, the feeling that of coaches and players, the togetherness that can happen when everybody's all in, and then the ownership of the players that will only help, them go play with that pride in mind and spirit on a Sunday to go win a football game. Because it's really, really hard, but when you're in it all together, and that's you guys too, that's his whole building, it becomes that much easier to go accomplish goals like that.
One thing Sean McVay said is that you are a great leader. So in your eyes, what is the definition of being a leader?
Well, I think for a coach, it's great to be a leader, but I think your leadership style has to be, clear. It has to have a purpose. And for me, that purpose is, building it through communication, relationships, and having kind of a relentless passion, I would say, to teach, lead, and motivate. Doing it in a positive way, where, no matter who you interact with, maybe it's your quarterbacks in the quarterback room, it could be, up in front of the whole unit or the whole team, whatever it is, or it's just being around your other coaches, you're making those guys be better possible versions of themselves, realizing their potential and providing whatever path you can in your role to help those guys realize that potential. I think that's what it is, and I've had great people do that for me in my life and my career, so it's been a little bit easier to kind of transition to and feeling the positive nature that you get from watching that happen for others.
So, of course, once the buzz started going around that Kevin O'Connell was going to be the new head coach, everybody started watching some former interviews that you did in L.A. or former in Washington. And I watched an interview that you did a couple of weeks ago. You said a key to building a winning culture is three things: collaboration, communication, consistency. How does that translate to this Minnesota Vikings team?
Yeah, like the communication thing. This is why guys like Bill Belichick never actually develop good head coaches, other than Mike Vrabel, obviously. Yes, he may be the smartest football mind that who does, and who probably will ever live. But without communication skills, what's the point in being so smart? I even said this a while ago. Communication is sometimes even more important than education, because you could be the most educated, the smartest person in your field, but if you can't teach others, then once you leave, then what else is there to go? But if you are just pretty smart in your field, or you are smart in your field but not super smart, but you have great communication skills, this is why Andy Reid has developed actually some great head coaches. He developed John Harbaugh. I know he developed Doug Peterson. Not sure who else he has though. And this is also what Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah mentioned early on when he was hired by the Vikings as GM. Communication is so important when you want to be able to talk with other people. I mean, obviously, communication is talking. Part of it is. But yeah, let's keep going. And also collaboration is also something really important.
The Wolf family has gone out and found a general manager in Kwesi that is, I clicked with him right away. When I tell you that, I mean, you can ask anybody who was in there. He was not a part of the first interview, but then
That's a big thing. Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman had no chemistry together, and that's partially why our team flew into shambles right after 2019. We got nothing done after that because one, we did not have a great GM, and also our coach. Yes, Mike Zimmer's a good coach, but he's done a terrible job the last 2 years.
the second interview out in L.A. to know that I was
She's
working
so
alongside him. We've had a prior relationship, but to really feel like, just the personalities connect and the football minds. He's so intelligent, he's so smart, but he's worked so hard to know the game at a very, very high level. So even when we started talking ball in the interview, it was a very natural conversation where you could see disagreements may or may not happen, but it's never going to keep us from moving towards the common collaboration and goals that we're going to have to build this thing the right way. If you have that on a daily basis in a building as special as this, I think the only thing you need to worry about as a leader at that point is the consistency, like you said, of all that coming together in a way where you truly are doing it on a daily basis, trusting the process, overcoming adversity, which will happen to everybody. We experienced it this past year, and we were able to overcome it. Every team in this league is going to have that hit from time to time, but if it's built right and the foundation is set at the top with the leadership in place, I think we'll have a great chance for success.
Have you had a chance to look at this roster with Quincy on your own yet?
I have. I think it's one where obviously we prepared to play these guys not that long ago on the defensive side, which was a big time challenge, and then obviously
Yeah, it definitely didn't seem like it because our offense was horrible.
Skill players, some foundational pieces up front. There's a lot to like about this roster. It's one of the huge things that drew me to trying to get this job.
Except for that video, let's make sure I'm still recording so I don't have to redo this again, but I'm still recording. Yep. Alright. Now keep the recording going because my screen recording does not know how to keep going. Next up, 5 takeaways from Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell's first press conference. Okay, I'm not going to watch the full introductory press conference. It's like 44 minutes, but if you want to, go ahead and watch it. So in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell is now the new head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and the energy and excitement brought by his arrival were palpable inside Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center on Thursday afternoon. O'Connell was introduced as the 10th head coach in team history, and he brought quite the positive vibe with him. It's such an unbelievable opportunity for me to be sitting up in front of you today, O'Connell said. I'm incredibly humbled by this, to know that you get the opportunity to lead an organization that has tremendous history, and an organization that's had tremendous success on the field and in this community. Okay, tremendous history and success. I wouldn't say that. Yes, we've been a force with Bulls, but what have we done with them? Okay, Questito Fomenza on O'Connell. Let's check this one out. Yes, play it. Okay, for some reason, Questito Fomenza looks totally different actually on video than he does in his pictures. I don't know why. But, like, he... So I'm not gonna lie, this might sound kind of racist, but, like, looking at his pictures, he just looks like he has, like, a thick, some kind of African accent. And, like, his name perfectly fits the way he looks. You know, Kwesi Adolfo Mensa. That, like, really African name. Then you see him, like, how he talks. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. So O'Connell, who spent the last 2 seasons as offensive coordinator for the Rams, helped Los Angeles to a 23-20 win in San Francisco in Super Bowl 56 on Sunday over Cincinnati. O'Connell said he wants to replicate the success the Rams just had and implement what he learned from the Rams head coach Sean McVay. He's had a huge impact on me the last 2 years, but even going back beyond that, I've learned so much from him about the type of team coach, the type of team and culture that I want to build, O'Connell said, but he's a truly remarkable man and a remarkable leader. I have to bring a lot of those characteristics to our football team here that he's instilled that just helped us win a world championship, O'Connell said. Now let's go John Randall. I'm glad that John Randall isn't just such a classic like old guy like my head coaches were like 60 years old. Now these head coaches are like 35, 40 years old. He's actually pretty respectable. Oh, I just noticed that's like a weird vest Hall of Fame jacket. That's cool. The classic Hall of Fame jackets are so cool, but okay. Hall of Famers Bud Grant, John Randall, and Randall McDaniel were on hand, as was the Vikings Ring of Honor members Scott Studwell and dozens of other Viking staff members. O'Connell thanked many people along the way in his football journey, including his family, before laying out his vision for what he wants the Vikings to look like and on and off the field. So here are 4 takeaways from O'Connell's introductory press conference. One, he will call the offensive play, which he also did with the Rams people. Some people were like complaining about like, oh, he didn't call the offensive plays for the Rams. He's piggybacking off of Sean McVay. But no, he wasn't. He's actually been calling a lot of plays for the Rams, not Sean McVay. And there's even a video of him in the Super Bowl. It's titled like Kevin O'Connell calls a play for the Rams in the Super Bowl, and it's basically a sideline view of the play. One of the Cooper Kupp touchdown passes. The touchdown passes to Cooper Kupp. And then after it, Sean's like running after Kevin O'Connell, like, that was a great play call, Kevin. That was a great call. So, y'all people who don't think that he calls plays, you can shut up. Perhaps this isn't a surprise, but O'Connell will call the offensive plays as the head coach. While he wasn't the sole play caller with the Rams, O'Connell helped design Los Angeles offense and was a key part of their offensive success. And while O'Connell, a 2008 third-round pick by New England, didn't have an illustrious playing career, he learned plenty over a few seasons in the NFL that he hopes will translate to Minnesota's offense. O'Connell helped quarterback Matthew Stafford have one of the best seasons of his career in 2021 as Los Angeles went 12-5 and won the NFC West. The Rams also finished in the top 10 in both points and yards per game, which last year the Vikings were 4th in offensive yards per game, but 10th in offensive points per game, which, yes, those are great numbers. That means we had a good offense that year, but that means that our offensive yards weren't turning into points, which is basically means, like, if you have a, like, I don't know, I'm so tired right now. If you have the 4th best offense in the league based on yards, but the 10th best offense in the league on points, sure, that's not a big discrepancy, but why isn't it higher? Why isn't it 8th, 7th, 6th in points? So, I really hope he'll revive our offense. Also, our offense this year, Jay Jettis has an even better year. Alexander Madison pops off, and yet our offense is just above average. It's like 12th, 13th, 14th in the league. Number 2, praise for Kirk Cousins. And speaking of quarterbacks, O'Connell fielded multiple questions on Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins. Minnesota started for past 4 seasons. Cousins is entering the final year of his contract and is set to have a $45 million cap hit by 2022. Yeah, he's not worth that much. He's worth, I'd say, maybe like $30 million at most. Yes, he's a great quarterback, but he's not worth $45 million. O'Connell has a history with Cousins as the two worked together in Washington in 2017 and was the former was the quarterback's coach in 2017. Cousins threw for 4,000 yards with 27 touchdowns and 13 interceptions in his low season with O'Connell, and that's something I mentioned in my last video. O'Connell coached Kirk Cousins, so why would anyone think that he doesn't want Kirk Cousins? He coached him into a pretty darn good football player. I'm pretty sure that's like comparable to Baker Mayfield's 2018 season, the 27-13. So yeah. So O'Connell was asked how Cousins will fit into his plans now that he is the head coach. I think Kirk has played at a very high level and he's done a lot of great things throughout his career, O'Connell said. I know who he is as a player and I know what he's capable of. And part of our job as coaches is maximizing players' ability to go out every single Sunday and have success. So it takes all 11 to move the football on offense, to run it, to throw it, to score points in the red zone, O'Connell added, but I'm anticipating Kirk being a part of what we do. Cousins has thrown for 16,387 yards with 24 touchdowns and 36 interceptions in 4 seasons as the Vikings starting quarterback. He has a 33-29-1 record in 63 games. Look at this, 24 touchdowns and 36 interceptions. That is nearly a 7-2 touchdown interception ratio. That's really at 3.44444444444444444444. You get the picture. That's that many times as many touchdowns as interceptions. Number 3, aggressive defensive mindset, which is something that we've needed the past 2 years, because our defense has been terrible the past 2 years because Mike Zimmer plays not to lose. And you see, back when we played against the Lions, we rushed 3 guys. We dropped 8 into coverage at the very back of the end zone, leaving the front of the end zone wide open. What do you think that happened after that? Jared Goff throws an easy touchdown pass to win the game for the Lions because we had no guys. We had no guys actually defending there. And you see, Belichick, the last play of the game against the Bills, when they beat them 14-10 when Mac Jones threw 3 passes for 19 yards. The last play of the game, he ran a 0 blitz, and yes, I think it was the Jets defensive coordinator was flamed at for doing a 0 blitz against the Raiders. They were up 24-21 late on the last play of the game. They run a 0 blitz. Henry Ruggs dusts them, but also Henry Ruggs is one of the fastest guys in the league, and the Bills don't really have as much of a speedster like Henry Ruggs is. And yeah, the Jets also had a terrible defense that year anyway. So yeah, he was flamed out for running cover 0, but Bill Belichick showed how to do that correctly. He completely destroyed the Bills on that last play. while Kevin O'Connell will call Minnesota offensive plays, that role on defense will presumably lie with Ed Donatell, who was announced Thursday as the Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator. O'Connell praised both Donatell's experience and scheme, which he lauded as one of the toughest to play against in recent seasons. Donatell, who has experience with revered defensive mind Vic Fangio, revered defensive coordinator, not coach, because he's a terrible head coach, will enter his 32nd season in the NFL in 2022, which means he started back in 1991. Vikings offensive coordinator Ed Donatell. Oh, never mind. So O'Connell said he expects the Vikings defense to be an aggressive unit that focuses on taking the ball away, which we need to be aggressive. We can't play not to lose the game, because that is why you lose games. By playing not to lose, you lose games. By playing to win the game, you win the game. You might also lose, but you play to win the game. As Herman said it, you play to win the game. I definitely have a vision of what I want the defense to look like and play like, O'Connell said. First and foremost, the core characteristics of playing good defense, which is guys flying around, a great tackling group. Okay, Thielen, I couldn't be more excited about the direction of the organization. Okay, so as for what scheme the Vikings will run, O'Connell alluded to a 3-4 scheme, but noted the Vikings will certainly be diverse in their alignments too. Donatell ran a 3-4 scheme for the past 3 seasons in Denver and was Fangio's defensive backs head coach in Chicago prior to that, back when they had Kyle Fuller, Prince Amukamara, Eddie Jackson, and Adrian Amos, 4 great defensive backs. We don't have that talent now, but anyway. So while Minnesota ran a 4-3 base system over the past 4 years, which I'm not so sure what I think about switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4 scheme. Then again, nickel, I've heard it said by Purple for the Win, nickel is the new base, because so many teams run 11 personnel that the base isn't even 4-3 or 3-4 anymore. It's actually nickel. I think depending on the defense you talk to, 81% of the time they're in nickel defense, which is essentially just 4-3 with a 5th defensive back, I should say, in the game instead of a 3rd linebacker, O'Connell said. A lot of times a big thing is being multiple with your fronts, because I know as an offensive coach, if we know where you're going to be, we know where you're going to line up. Number 4, collaboration and consistency. Perhaps the biggest buzzword thrown in the Vikings since they made major front office changes on January 10th is collaboration. Vikings general manager Quesido Fomensa brought up the word multiple times when it was introduced on January 27th. I need to be really cautious about it because I do not want to film a 4th time. Connell emphasized that he and Edo Fomensa will work in tandem in bringing success to Minnesota. So, and then before you know it, the players will be back in this building, and they're going to be the number one people group that feels that connection and collaboration, because it is a real thing. It really is a thing, O'Connell added. I know the word has been used a lot, but it is used a lot for a reason, and I hope people and fans understand that we both believe it. We have shared that vision, and I've been a part of something I know he has too, when it's existed, a lot of really good things can happen. Okay. So O'Connell said he's already talked to multiple Vikings players, and they said they will be a driving force. So that's it for this one. Now let's go on to the very last, the last article I want to go over, which is 5 things to know about new Vikings defensive coordinator Ed Donatell. Which for some reason it's only 4 things, not 5 things. I don't know why they say 5. It might probably a typo, but at the same time, if it's happened twice, then I don't know if it actually is a typo. In Minnesota, the Vikings have added a big piece to head coach Kevin O'Connell's staff. Minnesota announced Thursday that Ed Donatell is now the Vikings defensive coordinator. The 65-year-old Donatell has 31 years of NFL experience on his resume. Here are 5 things to know about the Minnesota Vikings' new defensive coordinator. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Donatell brings a wealth of knowledge from Minnesota, plus a pair of Super Bowl rings. While Donatell has worked for multiple NFL teams in his career, he was Denver's secondary coach from 95 to 99 and helped the Broncos win a pair of championships in that span. Donatell held his title when Denver won Super Bowl 32, which was a 31-24 win over Green Bay. He had the same job a year later when the Broncos repeated with a 34-19 win over Atlanta in Super Bowl 33. Okay, so number 2, most recently was with the Broncos, who have had some of the best defense in the league the past few years. While Donatell experienced the top of the NFL mountain with Denver, he also arrived in Minnesota, having just spent the past 3 seasons with the Broncos. Donatell was Denver's defensive coordinator from 19 to 21 when Vic Fangio was a head coach, a terrible head coach at that, and Donatell helped that unit find plenty of success. And actually, when we played the Broncos in 2019, I heard Mike Zimmer say that was the best defense. No, this is the best defense that we've had to face so far, and that was actually before the game. He said that about the Broncos defense. Donatell was the Broncos ranked 3rd in points per game allowed with 18.9 in 2021, and were 8th overall in yards allowed per game, 326.1. Which, notice, that's like basically inverted what our offense was last year. We were 4th in yards per game and 10th in points per game, which is fine. If we're a little bit lower than, if we're like 8th overall in yards per game, but 3rd in points per game, that's absolutely fine with you. Denver's defense also ranked the 3rd in red zone scoring percentage with 50%, 5th in first downs allowed per game with 18.4, and we're 8th in goal-to-go percentage at 63.64%. This is Donatell's 4th NFL defensive coordinator job. Donatell's arrival in Minnesota marks his 4th defensive coordinator job in the NFL. His first time in that role was with the Packers from 2000 to 2003, as Green Bay's defense finished in the top half of the league in points and yards allowed per game in his first 3 years on the job. Donatell spent 3 seasons as the defensive coordinator in Atlanta from 04 to 06, but was in an NFL coordinator role again until he joined the Broncos in 2019. He will now be a defensive coordinator for a 4th time and for a third different NFC team. Donatell also has served in various coaching roles with the Jets, 49ers, and Bears in his career. His first NFL job was with the New York in 1994 as the Vikings defensive backs coach. Oh my gosh, why did I say the Vikings? He spent 11 to 14 as San Francisco's defensive backs coach, while general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah joined the 49ers in 2013 as the manager of football research and development, spending 2 total seasons in the same building with Donatell, which is great that the overlap is really important. Number 4, and the last thing to go over, plenty of college experience, which I have. At first, when I read that, I thought so does Urban Meyer, but I forgot that he's actually been in the NFL for a while too now. Donatell's early coaching career was spent in the college ranks. He was a graduate assistant at Carrot State from 1979 to 80 before holding the same title at Washington from 81 to 82. Donatell then became the Vikings defensive backs coach at Pacific University. Became the defensive backs coach, not the Vikings defensive backs coach, at Pacific University from 83 to 85. He was the DB's coach at Idaho from 86 to 88 and Cal State Fullerton in 89. Donatell graduated from Glenville State College in 79. He was a 4-year letter winner and co-captain of the 78 football team. Donatell was inducted into the Glenville State's Hall of Fame in 2005. Number 5, oh wait, never mind, I forgot. There are 5 things. He has scheme adaptability. The Vikings have primarily utilized a 4-3 defensive scheme in the team's history, most notably under former head coach Mike Zimmer, and while Donatell used a 3-4 scheme in Denver over the past 3 seasons, he has scheme adaptability based on his 10-year track record as a defensive coordinator. Donatell's defense ran a 4-3 system in his 4 seasons as defensive coordinator in Green Bay, plus his 3 years in Atlanta as defensive coordinator. One of the main questions for Donatell early on will be, what scheme will we use here, and how will the Vikings defense change depending on what system is installed? So that is it for that one. Alright, so that's it for the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, hit that bell notification. Why did I say bell notification? Comment what videos you would like to see, and as always, never forget, the Packers will always suck, and Skol Vikings.